Welcome to deck support. It's going to be a saucy day. We're not going to go in order today because Red is on a stream and we're going to try to see if we can do their deck review at the end. Thank you all for joining. Let's see who is in the chat. Sound off in the chat if you're here. I see 3 people. Just say hello. While you guys are typing up, I'm going to let you know that today's deck support is sponsored by Haven Games. It's a local LGS. It's an LGS that's like really, really cool, very inclusive. I really, really support what they do in the local community. I love them so much. If you want to type in !Haven, you can get a link to their stuff. You can buy board games, you can buy cards, you can buy D&D stuff, you can buy all kinds of stuff. Okay, let's see what we're working with today. Okay, today we have George Plays Magic, pronouns he, him, so we'll be referring to this deck as his deck. Let's pull up the Moxfield link. Zevlor Beholder Blessed. Let's go look at what's bracket. It's called Zevlor Beholder Blast. It's bracket 3. It says, explain what the goal or theming of your deck is and how you win in practice. This is my newest deck and I haven't been able to get a ton of games in yet. I want to use all the cards from the Beholder Secret Lair that evolved into a Grixis Spellslinger strategy with a theft sub-theme with cards like Bribery and Acquire. The deck wins through casting a huge game-ending spell like Worst Fears and Clone Legion and copying it for each opponent. Okay, interesting. Weaknesses. While I enjoy the Haymaker aspect of this deck, it feels like I'm really only doing one thing every turn. If Zevlor gets destroyed or my ramp is disrupted, I get blown out pretty hard. Okay. Bracket 3, let's take a look. First, let's change it from Sin mode to Bliss mode where we can see the cards. Let's look at Zevlor. Okay, 1 in Grixis, legendary creature, Tiefling Warrior. It says haste, pay 2 tap. When you next cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a single opponent or a single permanent an opponent controls this turn, for each other opponent, choose that player or a permanent they control, copy that spell, or the copy targets the chosen player or permanent. I'm pretty sure I understand what this does, but that's a lot of words. I think what it says is that if you target a player, for each opponent aside from that player, you copy the spell and target them. If it's a permanent that you're targeting, you copy that spell and target a permanent for different opponents. I think that's what it does. Please let me know, sweet George, in the chat if that's what's going on. Okay, so just looking at it, it's a 4/2. It's got haste. It's a Tiefling Warrior. It's 4 mana. It's just like good in terms of just stat line. It's cool. I think it's really cool. The 2 in tap, I feel like might become a problem, but I'm assuming there's probably going to be some sort of training grounds in this deck to just reduce that cost. I don't see a training grounds. That might be a recommendation, but we'll see if you have the space for it. Okay, first let's look at the lands. Oh my god, I love seeing 40 lands with MDFCs. 38 without MDFCs is still pretty good. You have a healthy combination of basics. Let's see if your curve is low on red. High blue, then kind of tied black and red. I wonder why we're running so little mountains and so many swamps. Might want to even those 2 out. Maybe swap a swamp for a mountain. Okay. Let's look at the top. Creatures. There are 7 creatures in this deck. I guess you want to do instants and sorceries. Okay. I'm not judging. I'm just confused. Okay. Cormella Glamour Thief. Haste, pay 1 and tap. Add Grixis, spend this mana only to cast instants or sorcery spells. That's excellent. That's good ramp. You basically get back her casting cost the turn you play her. Well, you get like at least two back from her casting cost. Spend this mana only cast instants and sorceries. When Carmella Glamour Thief dies, return up to one target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. So she's also recursion. This is also a really cool commander. I'm like surprised I haven't heard of Zevlor or Carmella. This actually seems like really cool. I might actually build one of these two. These are really cool. Okay. Next we've got Experimentator Magmarch. It's an artifact creature Phyrexian construct. When you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets only a single non-land permanent an opponent controls. If another opponent controls one or more non-land permanents that spell would target, choose one of those permanents. Copy that spell. The copy targets the chosen permanent. Very confusing, but I think let's look at. Yeah, it's still confusing. Okay, I think here what it's saying is that if you target a permanent on a non-land permanent that an opponent controls, you copy it and you do the same thing to another opponent. I think. Okay. Goblin Electro. Okay, this is just standard ramp. I love the ramp package here. This gives you mana. Hey, JJ Mickey, thanks. Who else is in the chat? People, I need to know who's in the chat. Let me go look. Let me see if I can find out. I cannot find out. I don't know who's in chat, but hello. Hello, everyone. Okay. Karazakar, I think is how you say it. The Eye Tyrant. Whenever you attack a player, tap target creature that player controls and goad it. Whenever an opponent attacks another one of your opponents, you and attacking player each draw a card and lose a life. That is a target. This only cares about instants and sorceries. This only cares about instants and sorceries. So I'm guessing this is just to mitigate how few creatures you sort of have and how well you can protect yourself by goading things. It also has a pretty high casting cost. Hey, Doc. It has a pretty high casting cost. So I guess if you can slam this turn 5 or turn 4, depending on your ramp, you might be okay. I just worry about getting into attack, right? You would want to attack with Karazakar because your other creatures are not particularly good at attacking. Which puts this ability at risk. It could goad, and it goads one thing at a time. Interesting. I'm not exactly sure. I'll see how this card plays into the rest. I don't know what is the motivation here yet. Ornithopter of Paradise. This is just good ramp. Stormcatch Mentor. Haste Prowess. Instants and sorceries you cast cost 1 less to cast. This is sort of the same thing as Goblin Electromancer, except it will get those prowess triggers if you kind of storm off, which is what I sort of feel the... oh, right! Karazakar is probably one of the Secret Lair cards. The Beholder Secret Lairs. Okay, you're playing all the Beholder Secret Lairs. That's where Karazakar's in here. Got it. Okay. I didn't realize, but then I saw the Xanathar, and I was like, Xanathar? I was like, what's going on? Okay, I think I understand. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose target opponent. Until end of turn, that player can't cast spells. You may look at the top card of their library anytime. You may play the top card of their library, and you may spend mana as though it was mana of any color to cast spells this way. This is not an instant or sorcery, so you cannot copy it with either of these abilities. But it's still pretty strong. I've always thought that Xanathar is like a pretty stinky card because of how strong it is. It can kind of like silence a player. And play some of their cards. I've always thought this was really interesting. Yes, yes, JJ Mickey, exactly. I was just like, why is Karazakar in here? Why is Xanathar in here? And then I go and look. I was just like, oh, right, they said the whole Beholder Secret Lair. So I already see that these two are Beholder Secret Lair cards. Okay. Okay, acquire. Search target opponent's library for an artifact card and put that card on into play under your control. Then that player shuffles his or her library. This is just great with your commander because you can sort of look into all opponents' libraries and put an artifact into play. Depending on what those artifacts are, that could be a Bolas' Citadel, that can be a Darksteel Forge, that can be an Aetherflux Reservoir. It can be so many things. And then here is bribery. Search target opponent's library for a creature card and put that card onto the battlefield under your control, then shuffle. This is the same thing. You can go and get Atali Primal Storm. You could go get, what's the more nasty? Primal Conqueror. You can go get a Razaketh, the Foul-Blooded. You can go get whatever good card in their library for each player and put it into play. This is really cool. It's kind of like very Hail Mary, kind of like what you were saying in your deck sublimation. Okay. Another Beholder card. Destroy all creatures. For each non-token creature destroyed this way, you create a tapped treasure token. I love Blood Money. I think this card is so slept on. It's such an excellent board wipe because it gives you the ammunition to go into your next turn ahead of everyone. This is the thing that I struggle with a lot of board wipes is that they don't ultimately push you ahead enough. They sort of put you a turn behind. Blasphemous Act or Blasphemous Edict are good cards because they usually end up costing 1 mana. You can rebuild the turn you board wipe, right? Which is usually good. It puts you ahead in turn order. But a lot of other board wipes are heavy mana costs, and you can't really rebuild. But Blood Money gives you all that mana. It just takes you ahead. Carrion, nice to see you in. Okay, Blasphemous Act, just a great card. Good board wipe, good rebuilder. I just went over this. Blood-Soaked Insight. This spell costs 1 less for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. Target opponent exiles the top 3 cards of their library until end of your next turn. You may play those cards. If you cast a spell this way, mana of any type can be spent to cast it. So this is like an interesting card. It's like very high mana intensive, and until the end of your next turn, it gives you the next turn to cast it, because like if you're spending 7 mana on this, and if you're copying it with Zevlor, like that's easily 9 mana on your turn. You're not casting anything else. Oh, but it costs 1 less for each life someone's lost. Depending on how much life you can make someone lose, I don't really see like an effective life loss strategy so far to make this discounted. But if it is discounted, you could do a lot of stuff with this, especially if you copy it. Okay, I'll keep that in the back burner for now. Clone Legion. For each creature target player controls, create a token that is a copy of that creature. I love this. If you can manage to get to the mana to copy this, it's 11 mana to copy this, which is really tough. I'll have to see what your mana acceleration looks like, but a lot of these spells are really big, and that's sort of what you were saying. Like, if your mana ramp gets interrupted or your commander gets removed, you're, like, super behind because you need all of this blowout mana to sort of, like, carry yourself. That's another reason why Blood Money is so excellent for your game plan, because you can cast your commander and copy a spell the same turn because Zevlor has haste. I think that's really cool. Cruel Ultimatum. Target opponent sacrifices a creature, discards 3 cards, and loses 5 life. You return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, draw 3 cards, and then gain 5 life. Ideally, if you could copy this, you would get 9 cards, 3 creatures, and 15 life. That's not nothing. Honestly, for the... What is that? 3 plus 5 is 7... 3 plus 5 is 5. No, 3 plus 5 is 8. Why am I doing math so bad? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. I don't know why I was so lost there. It's 7 mana for Cruel Ultimatum, specific pips, but you could get a lot back. And 7 plus 2 for Zevlor is like 9 mana that you would need. That's why I think Training Grounds would be so huge in this deck, because it would minimize the cost of the activated ability for Zevlor. Let me show you what I mean by Training Grounds. Activated abilities of creatures you control cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the mana to the cost to less than 1 mana. It just gets you to 1 mana per Zevlor activation. It's like, it's something. Okay, Extract Bane. Target opponent chooses X cards from their hand. Look at those cards. You may cast a spell from among them without paying their mana cost. I kind of love the theming here for this deck, because it's sort of like I copy the spell for each one of my opponents and I steal really cool stuff from them. So, being able to pay a decent amount into X and then copying it for each opponent and being able to get X cards from their hand. Man, if you just pick like 4 here, they're going to give you something good. If you could pay 4 into X, that is like guaranteed 4 gas cards, unless they have straight lands, in each player's hand. So it would be 4 into X for a total of 6 mana, and then plus 2 for 8 mana to copy it. Faceless Looting. I mean, it's just a sorcery that would cost... It's sort of card advantage. It's like, looting is not quite card advantage. It's more like being able to see more cards, because you have to bin what you draw. You can't keep it all. So if you have 1 card in hand, you draw 2 and bin 2, you still only have 1 card in hand. I'm not sure why Faithless Looting is in here. There doesn't seem to be a discard synergy or a graveyard synergy as of right now. There's like some light graveyard synergy. We'll get back to Faithless Looting. Feed the Swarm is just removal that if you copy with Zevlor is just like super good removal. It's just a lot of life loss. Because when you copy the spell, the life loss is not the cost. It's the resolution of the spell. So you would take all that life. Gamble's just good. Jessica's Will's just good. Gamble is a tutor. Jessica's mana and card advantage. Praetor's Grasp. Search target opponent's library for a card and exile it face down. Then that player shuffles his or her library. You may look and play the card for as long as it remains exiled. You can go into someone's deck and just get... Hey, John. Yeah, you missed the last one, but I'm glad you're here. We are just going through George's deck. It is a Zevlor Beholder Blast. It's all Beholder Secret Lair stuff, and it has this like really cool sub theme of like big spells that like target all opponents. It's like really cool. Okay. Praetor's Grasp can go into anyone's deck if it's a combo deck and just take something. It can just go and grab the one piece in your combo. If you see someone with a Bolas Citadel, I'm going to your deck and getting the Aetherflux Reservoir. You're playing Prosper Tomebound, I'm going into your deck, I'm getting Sensei's Divining Top. Like, I'm immediately going into your deck and just grabbing whatever I want. You don't even have to play it. You just have to go into the deck and grab it. Realms Sketching. Create a token that's a copy of target artifact, creature, or land. This is really good if you can copy it, because you can just grab a copy of the best stuff on board for everyone. The same thing with Rite of Replication. Make a copy, or 5 copies. Oh, wait a second. If you kick Rite of Replication and you copy it, you get 5 copies of each one of those things. How much mana is that? 5 plus 4, that's 9. So 11 mana to get 5 copies of a creature. Yeah. I think that's how that works. That's crazy. It's just like crazy amounts of mana. Most time I'm not getting to like 8 or 9 mana on a turn. Like usually that's like late game stuff. It's like hard for it to like balance. Okay. Return all non-land permanents target player controls to its owner's hand. Oh my lord. This is like a like jankier Cyclonic Rift. If you're able to copy it. Solve the equation. Search your library for an instant or sorcery card. Put it into your hand and shuffle. This is just like a good tutor. Stolen goods. Target opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. Until end of turn, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Yes, JJ Mickey. That's what I'm saying. This deck is so cool. It's like when I saw there was only like 7 creatures, I was like, hold on a second. How does this deck function? But I'm like, all these cool spells that you could just possibly like copy for each opponent is like so crazy. It's so fun. Okay. Stolen goods, this is kind of like you exile until you get something good, and you get to do that for each player, and you get to cast it without paying its mana cost. So it could be something good from their deck. It could be like a mana rock. It's a lot of just grabbing what you can get. The thing is what I like is that even though there's a low amount of creatures, there are a lot of spells that steal creatures from opponents. And when you copy them, you get like 3 creatures in bursts. You get a creature from each opponent each time. Hey, Taco Tony. Okay. Talent of the Telepath. Target opponent reveals the top 7 cards of his or her library. You may cast an instant or sorcery from among them without paying its mana cost. Then the player puts the rest into his or her graveyard. If there are 2 or more instant or sorcery cards in your graveyard, you may cast up to 2 revealed instant and sorcery cards instead. Honestly, this is just so likely that you would have instants and sorceries in your graveyard. So you're going to hit Spell Mastery. Like, that's what your deck is made up of. And then on top of that, it's 4 mana for this to get 2 instants and sorceries for free. And then you're going to copy it for each opponent. It's just crazy the amount of value you can get out of this card. This card's crazy. This card's crazy. Yeah, this is like my favorite card in the deck so far. This is like insane. You control target player during that player's next turn. Oh. Oh, wow. You can play Magic by yourself. You can copy it for each opponent and just take everyone's turn. And that would cost you 10 mana to do. A Braid is just good removal. Snuff Out is destroy target non-black creature can be regenerated. You can pay 4 life instead. It's a Beholder. As an additional cost to cast this spell, pay X life. Beholder deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures, which you can copy to do to other creatures. Beholder... another Beholder card. Target opponent gets a -1/-1 until end of turn for each swamp you control. That's good removal. Drown in the Lock, another Beholder card. Choose one. Counter target spell that with mana value less than or equal to the number of cards in its controller's graveyard. Huh. Destroy target creature with mana value less than or equal to the number of cards in its controller's graveyard. I'm wondering how you can guarantee that the graveyard's actually full, but it's still a pretty cool counter spell, because even if they have like 3 cards in graveyard, that's enough. Even if they have 1, depending on if they tap out for something, it might not actually matter. Yeah, okay. Stifle. another Beholder card. Delay, another Beholder card. A lot of this is like protection too, and like removal to make sure that you you don't get stuck behind having to have a big spell resolve. This is Fling, which means that you can copy a big creature and fling it. You can steal a big creature and fling it. I actually, John, I'm not kidding. I'm looking at this deck right now, and I'm like, I am literally going to leave this stream and go build Zevlor. I think it's such a cool commander. I'm not kidding. This is, like, inspirational. Okay. Chaos Warp is just good removal. Commandeer is you gain control of a target non-creature spell. So you steal a spell. You can also exile 2 blue cards from your hand rather than pay its cost. You, yeah. Dark Ritual, that's the ramp that you need for, like, various spells. It's a good ritual. Hurl Through Hell is just, like, good removal, and it allows you to play other people's stuff. Infernal Grasp is good removal. Kolaghan's Command. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Target player discards a card. Destroy target artifact. Kolaghan's Command deals 2 damage to any target. I mean, it's good recursion. It also destroys an artifact. I briefly toyed with a mono blue Zevlor with all the hand attack spells. It was not good, but without building it, it was that restrictively. It's a really good commander. Why did you build it that way, JJ Mickey? Like, what do you mean by hand attack spells? Okay. Kolaghan's Lightning Bolt. Mana Drain is just a good counter. It gives you mana to do those big spells that you were talking about. Mystical Tutor. Hold on. How many game changers are in here? 1, 2, 3. Ooh. Spicy. Let's go look here at the bracket information. Yeah. Duress, Inquisition of Kozilek. Oh, JJ Mickey, you're so sweet. JJ Mickey, you're such a sweet human being, but you just build the most diabolical shit. You can never trust a JJ Mickey. You can never trust a JJ Mickey. Okay. Mystical Tutor, you search for that instant or sorcery blowout card. Prismari Command deals 2 damage to any target. Yeah, John, never trust a JJ Mickey is my new sure idea. Target player draws 2 cards, then discards 2 cards. Target player creates a treasure token. Destroy target artifact. I think a lot of these, you get 2 out of them. So you can do 2 things. And depending on if you target, let me read how Zevlor works. Yeah, I think when you cast it, you have to pick a target for the modal spell, so you can copy it with Zevlor. So these modal spells get copied for the 2 modes. I need a judge in chat. I need a judge in chat. How? Okay, so if Kolaghan Command, right, you choose 2 and then you copy the spell. Do you get a copy of the ones you chose? Or do you get a copy and get to choose more modes? I think it's a copy of the modes you chose. Let me ask my partner really quick. Steven, if I play a modal spell, yes, and it has like choose, like you have to choose 2 options, and you copy that spell, do you get a copy of the 2 you already chose, or do you get another option to choose 2 more things? So my partner says that you get to choose again. Okay, Tony's also saying the same thing, that you get to choose. Okay, so what I'm wondering is that can Zevlor copy Kolaghan's commands if you don't target a player or a non-land permanent. Target. Like if you choose return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, and you choose, I guess target player discards a card. All of them sort of work when you choose to, I guess if you just choose like a mode that doesn't target a player or a permanent, then you can't copy it, right? Okay. Okie dokie. Okay, we've got Prismari Command, we've got Reality Shift, good removal, Snap, good removal, untap lands, Terminate, good removal, Thought Scour. Target player puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard, draw a card. This is a good way to like fill up that graveyard in this kind of graveyardy, recursion-y kind of setting. It also draws you a card, and if you copy it, you draw 3 cards, and you mill everyone a little bit. Waterlogged Teaching. Search your library for an instant or sorcery card, or an instant card, or a card with flash, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. There's a lot of tutors here that are, like, very expensive tutors. Like Mystical Tutor's a good tutor, but I think I saw another card in here, Sorcery. Yeah, like this one is 3 mana, and this one is 4 mana. It's like the trade-off. What exactly? And Gamble is a good tutor, I guess. It might just be better to put more card draw in here than some of these lackluster, like, tutors. It might be better just to see more cards, and you're in blue, so you can draw hella cards. Okay, let's look at artifacts. Arcane Signet, ramp. Love it. Okay, so we've got 9 pieces of ramp. I think you should put the big ramp in here. Hi, Scruffy. Welcome to the chat. We've got 9 pieces of ramp, but I think you need a Thran Dynamo in here. I think you need a Hedron Archive in here. I think you need stuff that's going to give you, you're going to pay a lot early on, like setup, but it's going to give you like 3 mana or 2 mana later on. Okay, bye Taco Tony. Thanks for jumping in for the time that you were here. It was nice seeing you. I think like a Hedron Archive or a Thran Dynamo is going to do you a lot of good in the grand scheme of things. You want to spend a lot of mana to get a lot of mana later on so that you can ramp into bigger spells consistently every turn. You don't want to be trying to like squeeze by with 1 spell each turn. You want to be able to do like 2. And I think like bigger ramp pieces like Thran Dynamo will help. Thanks for the follow, Scruffy. I love like artist talent for cost reduction on non-creatures, then pumping out a few good mana rocks. Stone Speaker Crystal has been a fave. Let's go look at artist talent. See what John's talking about. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, if you you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Non-creature spells cost 1 less to cast. If a source you control would deal non-combat damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much plus 2 instead. I mean, they have a lot of cost reduction stuff, but this is like a good step in, right? It takes a while to like kind of build up, but you can add that to some of these like you see Goblin, Electromancer, and Storm Catch Mentor are reducing instants and sorceries, which is the bread and butter of what's going on in this deck, by that much. And I think honestly Artist Talent would be another target. It costs a little bit more to set up, but at least it gives you a card draw outlet. It sucks to, I don't know if it's looting in this situation, but it puts stuff in, I can never remember if it's rummage or loot. Okay. Let's keep looking. Oh, right. What was the other card? Stone Speaker Crystal. spelled crystal wrong. Okay. 4, sack, exile any number of target player's graveyard, draw a card. Yeah, I think stuff like this is huge. This is like better than Hedron Archive, because I think Hedron Archive comes in tapped. It does not, but it's another source, right? You want Hedron Archive and Stone Speaker Crystal. It's going to cost you 4 mana, but think about it. You'll just be ramping into ramp. You'll be putting out those bigger and bigger stuff. Hi, Benji. Wait, you were playing... Oh, I saw on Blue Sky you were talking about playing Pokemon. I was wondering where you were today, but I'm glad to see you before your stream. I don't know what time it starts. I think maybe 9, but I am glad to see you before you go. Okay, let's go look at the enchantments. We've got Beholder, Paralyzing Ray, or... We're playing Oubliette! There are very few cards that tilt me in the game of Magic the Gathering, and Oubliette is one of them. It's so scary. Someone Oubliettes, I clench. I was like, do not target my commander. I swear to God. Please do not target my commander. I'm going to be so salted out. But it is a Beholder card, so I understand why it's in this deck. In response, I clench. Yes. Double Visions. Okay. Whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, copy that spell. You must choose new targets for the copy. This is perfect because you just, it kind of gets you halfway through what you're trying to do with your commander without having to pay the mana and tap your commander. Okay. Yes. Okay. Time to mosey on over to the bracket decision. What is worse, Oubliette or Darksteel Mutation? Oubliette, Benji. Darksteel Mutation, you can blow up the aura. You can sack your commander. You can give it, depending on its, you can give it -X. There are a lot of ways to get around Darksteel Mutation. Oubliette is just like, you're fucked. Okay. Let's talk about the bracket. It is not a 1 or a 2. Like I said, like I will always say, I think that anything that you construct yourself is likely not a 2. Occasionally a deck will be, I think, pre-con adjacent enough. I often don't think this, but usually a decent amount of synergy removal and like cohesion pushes it out of pre-con range. Even though some pre-cons punch above their weight class, still land bases are not succinct, tutors are not good or existent in those decks. So I'm not going to say it's a 2. I think 3 is a good place. I think I would put it in a low 3. I think the struggle here is mana and card draw. There is like a huge struggle on creatures as well. I think the blowout turns are going to be huge, but they'll be slow. You will maybe get one of your blowout turns by turn 6, and then you have to wait another turn cycle to do it. And every single thing that you do is not killing a player. It's stealing resources. It puts you in a good position, but it puts a target on Zevlor, it puts a target on your back. I think, though, if you manage to get away with it 2 turns in a row, I think you get such a huge lead that you become sort of scary. I think my worry here is being able to clinch it or just surviving targeted removal for Zevlor. Like, even the counter magic and I think if you did a little bit of some graveyard recursion some more, you could have a good way to bring Zevlor back, because Grixis is not bad at recursion. I think it's definitely a 3. I think the Beholder restriction is like tough for what the deck wants to do, but a lot of them actually surprisingly work really well because they're instants and sorceries. I think you need to run some more creatures and more ramp. I think that's the main thing, and a little more draw. And there are tons of instances of sorceries for draw. And you can do the ones that target a player and draw that many cards. And what you can do is copy it. So. Okay. I'm going to say that's a solid 3. And let's move on to the next person. We've got Cody. Pronouns he, him. So this will be his deck. Let's go look at what this lovely person is cooking. Let's look. Okay. Thorn March Extreme is the name of the deck. Believe bracket is 3. 3 is a common choice. Explain the goal or theming of your deck, what your deck is, and how you win in practice. The list is very much a Boros token list, which I think each token doubler I can run. The main goal that I strive for is to make a bunch of copies of Summon Good King Mob the 12th? I'm not good with Roman numbers. And then kill with a swarm of Mughals. Weaknesses. A lot of focus is on Good King Mog. And that's the main reason I went bracket 3 rather than 2, to include Enlightened and Deflecting as good ways to find and protect my king. I feel like I found a good balance of synergy and interesting play patterns, but I also want to make sure I can reliably do my thing while also letting my opponents play the game and do theirs. That's very considerate. Let's change this into non-sin mode. Visual spoilers only on this stream. Okay. Just off the bat, just the concept, you're doing token doublers. That usually means very oppressive, very aggressive combat strategies. Usually you're overpowering, or especially in red, you are... Yeah, I see an Agate Instigator already. I see... Let me see. Let me just look through to see if there's an Impact Tremors. I don't see an Impact Tremors. Okay. I see a Fable of the Mirror Breaker, though. Okay. Okay. Just off the bat, I'm thinking this... Oh, there's a Roaming Throne. I'm thinking that this is probably going to be heavy tokens. Heavy combat. But let's see. Let's look. Oh, okay. Thank you, John. John, I forgot to bring it back to this page. Let's look at Mog, the Mughal warrior. Yeah, JJ, it's catching up. I clicked back over. Okay. Mog, the Mughal warrior. Lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, each player may discard a card. Each player who discarded a card this way draws a card. If a creature card was discarded this way, you create a 1/2 white Mughal creature token with lifelink. Then, if a non-creature was discarded this way, you put a 1/1 counter on each Mughal you control. Okay. Let me go see if... Okay, let's look at the card that they say that they rely on the most. Summon Good King Mog the 12th. Create 2 1/2 white Mughal creature tokens with lifelink. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell this turn, create a token that's a copy of a non-saga token you control. Put 2 1/1 counters on each other Mughal you control. So, okay. It seems like token entering, token creation, token doubling. Okay. Ajani. You gain life equal to the number of creatures you control plus the number of planeswalkers you control. Create a 2/2 white cat creature token named Ajani Pridemate. With whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on Ajani's Pridemate. I see a little bit of life gain in here. Let's see if that carries through. If you have at least 15 life more than your starting life total, exile Ajani of the Pride and each artifact and creature an opponent controls. Wow, that's a blowout. Elspeth Storm Slayer. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many are created instead. Create a 1/1 white creature soldier creature token. That's 2. Put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain flying until your next turn. That seems like a win con to me. Destroy target creature an opponent controls with mana value 3 or greater. Yeah, I love this Elspeth. Such a good card. I think that this is like really interesting because the Mog triggers are for each opponent. So you could potentially have 3 instances of making 2/1/2 Moogles, and you could have multiple instances of putting 1/1 counters on them. So that's actually like a huge synergy. Eternal Wanderer. No more than 1 creature can attack the Eternal Wanderer. Each combat, exile up to 1 target creature or artifact. Return that creature to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the player's next end step. Create a 2/2 white samurai creature token with double strike. For each player, choose a creature that player controls. Each player sacrifices all creatures they control not chosen this way. This is a good way to board wipe. It's an excellent board wipe and it also makes tokens. It also has a good way of protecting itself. Agate Instigator is just huge because you can make a token, and if you have Elspeth out, that's 2 tokens that you make with Offspring, and it will deal damage each time a creature enters. So all these tokens that are being created, including the Agate Instigator itself, can be like tons and tons of damage. Very strong. Bloodline Pretender, Changeling. As Bloodline Pretender enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Oh my god, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to look at your lands. I gotta judge you by your lands first. 35 lands, friend. You need more lands, friend. You need more lands. Let's go look at your curve. You need more lands, friend. 3 is the majority. But the big end stuff are like the stuff like even the Agate Instigator, you're going to need a decent amount of mana just to get it out there and to offspring it if you want the value, like the deep value of that card. And then Elspeth, we haven't gotten to a lot of these cards, but even the card that you rely heavily on is also a 5 mana spell. And Her Talk, which is like a doubler, a token doubler, a tripler, I think. You still need that mana. So I think the lands are a little bit low. I would put like 2 more in there, even with what I see here as like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sources of ramp. Maybe Monument to Endurance for the treasure. Even then, I still think you need a little bit more. But let's keep going. As Bloodline Pretender enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever another creature of the chosen type enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Bloodline Pretender. We're picking Moogles, I'm guessing. We're picking the Moogle. Kate Sith Fortune Teller. At the beginning of combat on your turn, scry 1, then exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. When you exile a card this way, target creature you control gets +X+O until end of turn, where X is that card's mana value. I guess it's card advantage. I think it is card advantage. I think that's basically what it is here, and it can potentially make something very strong. It doesn't give it trample though, so the extra damage might not matter a whole lot. It's also 4 mana to cast. Being able to scry is a good way to filter through your deck, but it's only this turn, so you're doing a lot of stuff second main. It's at least card advantage. Cloudbound Moogle. Flying. When this creature enters, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Plane cycling. It's a good way to filter out cards. It's also very expensive. It's like 5 mana for this flyer. And it puts a 1/1 counter on target creature. So maybe goes up to a 3/4 with flying. In white, that's not bad. You'll probably plane cycle this guy away. But he's a Moogle. So it fits into your game plan. Flash. This is Deep Known Terramancer. When one or more land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control without being played, you may search your library for a plains card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Do this only once each turn. Okay, so I'm seeing a little bit of card advantage and ramp here to deal with the low land count. Bye, JJ Mickey. It was a pleasure seeing you. Delivery Moogle. Moogles are a little bit expensive. This one's like 4 mana for a flyer. When this creature enters, search your library or graveyard for an artifact card with mana value 2 or less, reveal it, and put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle. I'm trying to figure out what you would be looking for. Maybe Blade of Cells? Maybe Sharonic Resonator? Maybe Blade of Cells. Blade of Cells seems like the most impactful because it'll make tokens. Agate will trigger. You'll make even more tokens. Yeah. Enduring Innocence. Whenever one or more creatures you control of power 2 or less enter, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. I need another rules question. Oh. Helm of the Host. Is Helm of the Host 4 mana? I think Helm of the Host is 4 mana. It's 4 mana, so you can't search for it with this Moogle. Conjurer's Closet. I think Conjurer's Closet is 5 mana. It is. So Conjurer's Closet is 5 mana. So they're not searchable with this particular Moogle. But it does get Blade of Cells, which is not nothing. Okay. I have a question about Enduring Innocence. Oh, it only triggers once per turn. Never mind. I answered my own question. When Enduring Innocence dies, if it was a creature returning to the battlefield under its owner's control, it's an enchantment. So this is just a good way that when you make Moogles, you draw cards. Exalted Sunborn. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice as many tokens are created instead. You can also warp it in for a big turn for 2 mana. And then it gets exiled, and then you can cast it again for its full cost if you want to use it later. Feldon of the Third Path. I guess there is like a decent amount of discard from the Moogle to be able to animate some of the stuff that you sent away. So same thing with Jax's. These also make tokens, which you would double with other abilities. They do gain haste. Jax's discards a card, which Feldon can then create a copy of. When this creature enters, choose a creature type. This creature is the chosen type in addition to its other types. Each other creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. I'm guessing Moogles. Molten Gatekeeper. When another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Molten Gatekeeper deals 1 damage to each of them. This is another ping effect for ETBs, along with Agate Instigator. And if it dies, you can unearth it. Depends on if you want to do a big blowout turn later. Mondrak is just a token doubler. Nesting Dovehawk makes tokens, and it populates, and it makes tokens of itself. It's crazy. Ohertok is a token tripler. Revolutionist enters the battlefield. Return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. It also has Madness. So when you discard it, you can cast it for its Madness cost with the Moogle. I'm not sure about this card. I'm not sure what instant sorcery you're looking for. Let's look through really quickly. Maybe the deflecting swat. Maybe. Roaming Throne is double triggers for a specific creature type. So you're probably going to do... Well, you could do the damage dealers and get double damage. You could do the Moogle and get double triggers at the end step. Okay, Sephiroth, Fallen Hero. Whenever Sephiroth attacks, you may put a cell counter on target creature. Until end of turn, each modified creature you control has base and power toughness 7/5. Pay 3, sacrifice a modified creature, return this card from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Oh my god, this card's insane. It turns all your Moogles into 7/5s. Wow. Squee is endless ETBs, I think. I'm not sure how you produce the mana to Squee, but I know... Oh, the Mirror Breaker? Is it Fable the Mirror Breaker? I think that's a 2-card infinite. Stiltskin Moogle. Target opponent gains control of target permanent you control. If they do, you draw a card. It's just a Moogle. Choco Mog. This is a Moogle. Other creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. This is like a good way to turn those 1/2s into 2/2s for several turns, depending on how many you make. We've already looked at King Mog, and do these have lifelink? Oh yes, all the Moogles that these two make have lifelink. So there is like a life gain sub theme for the Ajani card. Tataru Taru. When he enters, draw a card, and target opponent may draw a card. Whenever an opponent draws a card, if it wasn't that player's turn, create a tapped treasure token. This ability only triggers once each turn. This is like some kind of draw here. Jolly Balloon Man is a way to just make copies with flying and haste of creatures that you have, so multiple triggers. That's an additional creature each turn. That's an additional Agate Instigator. That's an additional Nesting Dovehawk. That's an additional Mondrak. That's an additional Ohertak. It's a lot of crazy stuff. Jolly Balloon Man will make a copy of something that'll be insane for the turn. Toby Beastie Befriender. When Toby enters, create a 4/4 white beast creature token with this creature can't attack or block alone. As long as you control 4 or more creature tokens you control have flying. That's probably the reason this is in here, to give all your Moogles or whatever tokens you end up making flying. Okay, Electro Duplicate. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except it has haste, and at the beginning of the end step, sacrifice this creature. Faithless Looting. Mass Calcify. Destroy all non-white creatures. I'm trying to see if you have... A lot of your damage dealers are red. I don't know if Mass Calcify is the move here. I guess it gets rid of anything that's not your Moogles. Because your Moogles are... Yeah, all your Moogles are white. Mine Excavation. Return target artifact and enchantment card in a graveyard to its owner's hand. Oh, I guess that's your way of continuing to use your good King Mog. Search for glory. Search your library for a snow permanent, a legendary card, or a saga. Reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. You gain 1 life for each snow spent to cast a spell. I mean, that's also good King Mog, I think. Solar Blaze. Each creature deals damage to itself equal to its power. Well, that protects all your Moogles because they're 1/2s. So it'll board wipe most things and leave your Moogles alone. Okay. Brave the Elements. Choose a color. White creatures you control gain protection from the chosen color until end of turn. This could be a blowout. That could be like a very, very big way to get in for a lot of damage. Deflecting Swat is just an excellent card that changes the target of a spell or ability. Emergency Ejection. Destroy target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a lander token. And Enlightened Tutor to search for an enchantment card, probably instead of an artifact card. Probably that's King Mog. Ephemerate to blink. Try to figure out what you would effectively blink. Oh, you could use it as protection. You can like ephemerate if someone tries to get rid of Mog and like bring it back. Moogle's Valor. For each creature you control, create a 1/2 white Moogle creature token with lifelink. Then creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. This is huge because someone might try to board wipe you, and what you do is you double it, and depending on what doublers you have out, you will triple or double or quadruple or whatever the amount of Moogles you have, and then they all become indestructible. Parting Gust. Gift a tapped fish. Exile target non-token creature. If the gift was promised, return that creature to the battlefield under its owner's control with a 1/1 counter on it at the beginning of the next end step. This is another protection piece or removal. You gift the tapped fish if you want to remove something. You don't gift the tapped fish if you want to flicker something. Path to Exile, good removal. Swords, a good removal. Ultimate Magic Holy. Permanents you control gain indestructible end of turn. If the spell was cast from exile, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you this turn. I think, honestly, this is a Dawn's Truth situation. I know a lot of the flavor for this deck is Final Fantasy, but I think, honestly, a Dawn's Truth will do you more here. You and permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn. If the gift was promised, permanents you control also gain indestructible until end of turn. It doesn't prevent damage, if that is what you're looking for, but it does protect your stuff. Okay, Blade of Selves is definitely going to be a way to make more tokens and then double those tokens and get more damage in with Molten Gatekeeper or Agate Instigator. Ramp. When you discard a card, you get to do one of these, which is good with the Moogle with Mog. Ramp, double trigger, protection, ramp, and it also gains you more life. Yeah. Anointed Procession is going to double tokens. Caretaker's Talent is going to draw you cards when you make tokens, make a copy of a target token, and also give tokens +2/+2 if you get it to level 3. Case of the Uneaten Feast. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. To solve, you've gained 5 or more life this turn. Sacrifice this case. Creature cards in your graveyard gain. You may cast this card from your graveyard until end of turn. So this is kind of like Graveyard Recursion. It's also life gain. You can just keep it and keep doing the life gain. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Create a 2/2 red Goblin Shaman token When this creature attacks, create a treasure token. You may discard up to 2 cards. If you do draw that many cards, exile this saga, returns to the battlefield transformed under your control, where it becomes a Kiki Jiki. You pay 1 and tap, create a token that's a copy of another target non-legendary creature you control, except it has haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. I think this is going to copy all kinds of stuff. I'm trying to figure out, I feel like this is like a combo deck, low-key, but I can't figure out what the combo line is. I see Squee, I see the Mirror Breaker. I don't know what it is, though. If Leyline of Hope is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield. If you would gain life, you gain that much +1. As long as you have 7 or more than your starting life total, creatures you control get +2/+2. Which at this point, I think you can kind of guarantee that you would have a life gain sub-theme, especially with all the Moogles having lifelink. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and have haste. That is huge for all the tokens you're making. At the beginning of your exile any number of non-token artifacts or creatures you control. Return those to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of your next upkeep. So it's sort of like protection. I'm not really sure what Nahiri's Resolve does. John, what does exclamation lurk mean? What does that do? Starlight Spectacular Parade. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose creatures you control with 1 or more... okay. Choose creatures you control 1 at a time until each creature you control has been chosen. Each of those creatures get 1/1 until end of turn for each creature chosen before it. Okay. This is an Unfinity card that is low-key great with a token strategy. Teleportation Circle. I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to blink. I see a lot of blink. Am I missing it? Tell me, chat. What is Cody trying to blink? Cody, what are you trying to blink? Okay. 3 blind mice. How do you make a token copy of 3 blind mice? I feel like that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make a token copy of 3 blind mice and then make infinite white mice creature tokens. But I still don't know how you do it, because I don't know how you would make a copy of this saga. So, When Touch the Spirit Realm enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target artifact or creature until Touch the Spirit Realm leaves. Channel, discard Touch the Spirit Realm, exile target artifact or creature, return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Okay. Chat, hear me out. I don't think this deck is a 3. Let's go look. Let's go look at the bracket decision. Okay. There are 2 game changers in this deck, right? There are no Mass Land Denial, no chaining extra turns. I do believe that there are 2 card infinite combos in here, but they do seem to be late game infinite combos. I'm not sure how they really pilot. I just know the cards. I'm not sure how it works in this particular deck, but I do see combo pieces in here. There are tutors galore, Search for Glory, Enlightened Tutor, and Delivery Moogle. Why do I say that it's not a bracket 3? I'm not saying it's a bracket 2. I think that this actually might push above its weight class. It doesn't need the game changers. It's Boros aggro, tons of damage, The curve is for creatures is incredibly low, except for the stuff that make a ton of tokens. There's a lot of ways to guarantee the token mechanic, even with Mog. I think it's a little bit later game, but I feel like it's a sort of snowball effect that will make an ungodly amount of tokens in a single turn. I would have to see it played to really know if I'm right about this, but I feel that this actually might punch above a 3. I think this is feeling like maybe a bad 4. I'm trying to figure out the blink. Right? There's a lot of blink here, but I don't know what it's for. Okay. That's all I got for that one. Let's go back. I'm actually cracking through these a little bit quickly. I don't think Red's going to be able to see me talk smack. I know this particular deck, the one I'm about to review. And let me tell you, I sent some messages back and forth because Red was just asking me if their deck was, if they had to be there for their deck because they have a stream they have to be on. But I've played against this deck. It's not a bracket 3. Let's look here. Okay. So this is Red's deck. Pronouns they, he. So we'll be referring to this deck as their deck. We've pulled it up. It's called the Wheeliod Experience. Believed bracket is 3. Explain the goal and theming of your deck and how it wins in practice. The goal of the deck is to use Heliod's cost reduction to loop wheels, cast really big group draw X spells, and either find a combo win, deck myself with a maniac effect, or ping everyone to death. Weaknesses of the deck. Heliod takes a while to get going, and once he's out, he's kill on sight. Additionally, the deck can be prone to fizzling out when going for the combo, as even the wheels and draw spells isn't possible. It's possible to whiff and not hit anything you need to keep the deck going. Oh, Red's in the chat. Red, I was just talking smack. You missed it. Okay. I am glad that Red is a person of culture and has all their cards on visual spoiler. Let's start off with the lands. Oh, blessed be. 38 lands. Love to see it. Anything under 36 and I'm giving you the side eye. I don't care what your game plan is. You need to have a really good reason to run on under 37 lands. 36 I will accept. 35 I will not. And it looks like mostly these are just access to a lot of colors, both colors at a given point in time. Let's look at the distribution. It's heavily blue, but you still want to have an even balance anyways. You have slightly more blue in here anyways. And you've got that Reliquary Tower, which is really good for Heliod's strategy. Let's look at Heliod the Radiant Dawn. Heliod the Radiant Dawn. When Heliod the Radiant Dawn enters the battlefield under the battlefield, return target enchantment card that isn't a god from your graveyard to your hand. Pay 3 and Phyrexian blue. Transform Heliod the Radiant Dawn. Activate only as a sorcery. And the other side is Heliod the Warped Eclipse. You may cast spells as though they have flash. Spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each card your opponents have drawn this turn. This is the side that most people play. The other side is just to get to the Warped Eclipse. Let's look very quickly at any enchantments that you might get back with Heliod. So we have Dictative Kruphix, which is at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card that helps the card count go up for Heliod when he's on his Warped Eclipse side. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player draws 7 cards. This is like a really good way to get something out that draws people's cards passively. It also is a necessary way to potentially deck someone. With the amount of cards that Heliod intends to make players draw, decking someone is very possible. Decking yourself is very possible. Ghostly Prison, which is just like a good way to protect yourself from aggro strategies while you're building up to flip Heliod or potentially doing your draw game plan on other people's turns. Propaganda does sort of the same thing. Smothering Tithe, this is a good way to produce mana. As people are drawing cards, you force big draws. It filters into Smothering Tithe, which makes more treasures for you to be able to push a little bit more on your turns with stuff you draw. Struggle for Project Purity is just like a good way. Like technically you could, whenever a player attacks you or with one or more creatures, that player gets twice that many rad counters. Not that important. The more important part is that you can draw 3 cards and each opponent draws a card, which puts the Heliod draw count to 3 on your turn and puts 3 cards in your hand. Ageless, Teferi's Ageless Insight just means that you draw double the cards. I'm like going through this fairly quickly because I actually know most of these cards because I also play a Heliod deck. I don't run all of these cards, but I do run quite a few of them. So let's see. We've got a Jace here. Let's view the details because it's in Japanese. Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. If you would draw a card when your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. Take him up to target player mills 2 cards, draw a card. Draw 7 cards. If your library has no cards in it, you win the game. This is definitely a combo piece with Heliod to try to deck yourself to win. You can also flash it out. You could see that you're about to draw your last card, flash it out, draw the card, win. Well, draw from no cards in your deck. Consecrated Sphinx is definitely a good way to draw cards when your opponents draw. You want to encourage your opponents to draw in this deck strategy, but you want to draw more than them. You always want to have more advantage than them. So Consecrated Sphinx is a good way to guarantee that, because whenever an opponent draws a card, you draw 2. And at any point, if it becomes too much, you can stop because the draw is a May. Fairy Mastermind is also a good way, is that whenever an opponent draws their second card, you draw a card. So you're always going up slightly more cards on each turn cycle that you force them to draw on. Hullbreaker Horror is just so incredible in this deck because if you have opponents draw 5 cards, it's 2 blue. It's a 7/8 with flash, which means that you can flash it out even when Heliod's not out. And what you can do is kind of use it as protection. If someone tries to remove Heliod, you can bounce it back to their hand. If something is kind of like staxing you out of the game, Hullbreaker Horror can bounce the permanent to their hand. It's actually super, super good in this deck because it can end up being very cheap to cast. Jace's Archivist is blue and tap. Each opponent discards his or her hand and draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way, which could be a huge amount of cards. It like depending on how much the X spells that draw on this deck do, it's possible to even potentially mill out, well, not mill out, but like deck players with the amount of cards they draw. Especially if you're discarding and one of those people is you and you had a Consecrated Sphinx out and you've made people draw 20 cards, which means you have 40 cards in hand. When you Archivist, everyone draws 40 cards. And then, you know, you've basically taken up half their library and put it in their hands. Kami of the Crescent Moon is just an additional card draw on each player's turn. Kawain is tap, each player draws a card, then each player who drew a card this way gains 1 life. It's just a good way to guarantee 3 to Heliod's ability on a given turn. Labman is if you would draw a card while your library has no cards on it, you win the game, which is another win con, I think, for this deck. Lauren of the Third Path is like removal for an artifact or enchantment, and it also potentially draws you and opponent a card, which helps with Heliod's draw count. Peregrine Drake is like a good way to untap your lands, especially with Heliod's discount. It could potentially be 1 blue and then untap a bunch of lands that you might have tapped to do something with Heliod's abilities with Flash. Phyrexian Metamorph is just a good way to just gain value. I'm not really sure, aside from you could cast it for free, get your storm count up. It can become the copy of something. I'm not sure exactly how useful this is to your game plan. It doesn't pull attention, doesn't draw cards. Psychosis Crawler is that ping damage that they were talking about in their deck. Whenever you draw a card, everyone loses a life, is like super relevant with Consecrated Sphinx, because every time you force a draw with other players, then you will draw 2 cards, which means each opponent will lose 2 life. It's the same thing with Scrawling Crawler. You force them to draw cards, so they're losing life. Socrates is sort of the same. Because he can tap, and until end of turn, target creature gains. If this creature would deal combat damage to a player, prevent that damage, that creature's controller and the player each draw half that many cards rounded down. You could do this when one player is attacking another, not necessarily you. You could fog the damage and get them both to draw, which is just a huge discount for Heliod. Solemn is just free, basically, because it's all colorless mana, and you can like discount it heavily with Heliod. Spellskite is a good way to protect Heliod because it changes the target of target spell or ability to Spellskite. So if someone's like, hey, I want to target Heliod with a spell, you can flash it in, you can pay the Phyrexian mana, and then you can change the target to Spellskite instead of Heliod. Council of Four. This is just to guarantee you make blockers and draw cards, because players are going to be drawing their second card for turn a lot. Players are going to be casting their second spell each turn a lot, so it makes blockers, it draws you cards. It's also a good blocker itself, and discounted with Heliod, it's only white and a blue. Walking Ballista, which I believe is part of one of the combos to be able to put 1/1 counters on it, because you can just discount the Walking Ballista's ability by like a huge number, depending on how many cards you can like force players to draw. And then you can just ping players once it's flashed in. You can pay you can just remove the counters and kill everyone. Zenith Chronicler is a good way as well to force draws on other people's turns when they cast multicolored spells. Each other opponent draws a card. So you and your opponents will be drawing cards, which can be really good. You can also do it yourself. Whenever you cast something, you force other people to draw cards. But it's only with multicolored spells that this works. Approach of the Second Sun. If this spell was cast from your hand and you've cast another spell named Approach of the Second Sun this game, you win the game. Otherwise, put Approach of the Second Sun into its owner's library 7th from the top, and you gain 7 life. This is a necessary alternate win con for this deck, because Approach of the Second Sun is going to be drawn. You're drawing a lot of cards, and it's also something that you can cast at flash speed. You can also cast it, draw, cast it again in the same turn, depending on what the discount for Heliod is and how much extra mana you have and what draw spells you have in hand. Cut a Deal is just like an excellent way to like draw cards and have a discount on a particular turn. Days Undoing, each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards if it's your turn and the turn. Echoes of Eons. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards. Yeah, that's just a wheel. That's just good for Heliod. Expropriate. It's just an extra turn spell that gets discounted with Heliod. Technically, you can choose money, right? Starting with you, each player votes for time or money. For each time vote, you get an extra turn after this one. For each money vote, choose a permanent owned by the voter and gain control of it. Farewell is just like a good board wipe. Gets everything. Fascination. Each player draws X cards. Each player puts the top X cards of their library into his or her graveyard. It's a good way to mill everybody out. It's a good way to draw everyone out, depending on how high the draw count for Heliod is. Prosperity. Each player draws X cards. Sky Scribbing. Each player draws X card. Reveal Sky Scribbing from your hand. Each player draws a card. It's a good way to guarantee a little bit of a draw. But it's an activated ability, so Heliod does not discount it. Supreme Verdict. It's a good board wipe. What you'll struggle with a lot is being able to protect Heliod. But sometimes you just need a board wipe. If Heliod gets removed, to just get yourself back into the game. Okay. Windfall is just another, it's another wheel. Offer is a counterspell. Arcane is a counterspell. Born Upon the Wind, you may cast spells this turn as though they have flash, draw a card. It lets you do Heliod stuff without Heliod. Counter magic, protection, counter magic. Emergency powers. Each player shuffles their hand and their graveyard into their library, then draw 7 cards. If you cast a spell during your main phase, you may put a permanent with converted mana cost 7 or less from your hand onto the battlefield. I'm wondering why this wheel, it's like high mana. I think with Heliod it's not bad. Even the score. Ooh, it costs 3 blue less if an opponent has drawn 4 more cards this turn, which you can guarantee draw X cards. Ooh, I should run this in my Heliod card deck. This is good. This is really good. Generous Gift is removal. Path to Exile is removal. Rewind is counter magic. Stroke of Midnight is removal. Swords to Plowshare is removal. Tolarian Winds. Discard your hand and draw that many cards. This only affects you, which is surprising because a lot of the decks here want to use wants your opponents to draw. So I guess this might be like useful if you're trying to get that Jace win or that Labman win. Unwind is going to untap lands and counter a spell. Vision Schemes is just going to guarantee that each opponent draws 2 cards, which puts Heliod to 6 discount, which is crazy for 2 mana. And Words of Wisdom, you draw 2 cards and each other player draws a card. Arcane Signet is ramp. Folio of Fancies is a way to pay into an ability to draw cards. It also helps you mill players. Each opponent puts a number of cards equal to the number of cards in their hand from the top of their library into their graveyard. Font of Mythos. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws 2 additional cards. This is just to guarantee more draw. Gilded Lotus is just really good in Heliod because the discount means that you can flash in a Gilded Lotus for more mana. Howling Mine is the same way for more draw. Teferi's Puzzle Box. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player puts the cards in his or her hand at the bottom of their library in any order, then draws that many cards. It just guarantees like a ton of draws every turn for a player. Temple Bell is also a good way to make everyone draw. We've already gone through the enchantments. Okay. Chat. Hear me out. Hear me out. Red said that their deck is a bracket 3. I'm telling you, having this much card draw in a deck makes it so efficient. Having this much card draw in a deck makes it so exceptional. Yes, you can whiff. Yeah, but you're also trying to deck yourself. You're trying to draw every card in your deck. There are multiple win cons in here with Heliod's discount. We've got Scrawling Crawler, Psychosis Crawler. We have ways to protect Heliod like Spellskite. We have Hullbreaker Horror, which can bounce spells. We have Consecrated Sphinx, which guarantees all that draw. Alternate win cons like Jace, Approach of the Second Sun. We've got extra turn spells like Expropriate. We've got so much stuff in here to protect Heliod, so much stuff to guarantee draws. I cannot see any weakness to this deck other than how slow it takes to put Heliod out. I think if someone removes Heliod the turn you cast him, if you cast Heliod and you have to tap out to flip him, if someone blows up Heliod with you having no way to protect him, you're blown out. I'm not saying that that's not true. But otherwise, this is crazy gas. I have a weaker version of this deck that I classify as a 3. I always tell people it's a 3, and it's nowhere close to as powerful as this particular Heliod deck. So, bracket decision. I'm going to say this is a 4. I know Red is going to fight me on this because there's no fast mana. There's no free counters. You don't need any of that if you can constantly draw cards. You can guarantee to flash in and discounts on all your spells. It's just the colored pips that you need. And you have ways to untap your lands. You have ways to discount the colored pips. You have way to flash in like mana with Gilded Lotus. I'm not saying it's like a busted 4. I'm not saying that this is like the pinnacle of 4s. No, I'm just saying that it's definitely like a low 4. I think it's more a low 4 than a high 3 because I like to think that my Heliod deck, which is also a 3, is like more like a 3 solidly. And I think that this is like immensely stronger. I think the Consecrated Sphinx, the Expropriate, the few game changers that are already in here, right? Push it above. Oh my God, the Smothering Tithe. The Smothering Tithe is just such a way to like make mana not matter. And you can discount it with Heliod. Oh my God. It can be 1 white and just make you endless mana. What do we think, chat? Do we agree? Okie dokie. That is our final deck for today. We are going to start looking out for someone to raid. If you have recommendations on who to raid, please put them in the chat. Today, I would like to shout out our sponsor, which is Haven Games. They're a lovely LGS that has tons and tons of like cool stuff that you can buy. If you want to put !Haven into the chat, you can see all the cool stuff they have to offer. They have D&D stuff, Magic stuff. They have all kinds of different really, really cool products. Let me see who is currently live to see who we're raiding to. I always raid to Benji. Let's see who else. It might be Benji. We love a Benji the Brewer. Okay. Oh no. How do I do that? How do I go back to okay. So I just wanted to shout out them. I wanted to say thank you all for coming. I hope you had a lot of fun. If you would like to donate your deck to the stream, aka send it in for us, I would appreciate it greatly. If you're having like a tough week, play some Magic, hang out with your friends, take some downtime, drink some water. I love you all. Thank you for being here. I'm gonna start off this raid. I'm glad you guys came out today. I was having a bad day today, so it was nice to talk to you all and talk Magic. It helps cheer me up. So let's raid.
2 instant tutor that we've already seen happen once. So, and this is a deck that likes to play out of the graveyard. So we're getting some good value in the graveyard. I am watching what you're doing. Strixhaven Dropout with a raid. Hello, raiders. Welcome on in. How was the stream? Cass, how are the deck reviews? Welcome on in. We are finishing up our breakdown. It is me. I'm talking. So I am looking at, like, you've got 2 spells that you can already recast out of your graveyard. So your hand may be 4, but it's really 6.
Yep.
So that is something that I'm looking at. You've already had 2, again, responses. You've had a response, and then, yeah. Anyways, moving on from that. Doc's got a pretty good setup, but you've missed a land drop. So the lander token is key to getting you back on track, but I don't anticipate... I mean, it really depends on if you draw or have drawn a land that you can play on your next turn, because it'll determine where that thing can go, essentially. And then, Zoe, the Bloodthirsty Blade is very interesting once you have flyers, because you're able to shut off some... Because most people don't pack a ton of flyers. They'll have a flyer or a couple of flyers, and maybe one of them is not advantageous to block with. So your ability to control air traffic, essentially, is interesting. We're not there yet, but I think Steven putting you back a turn in terms of board state is relevant, and it does sort of even out where the 3 of you are. But I think I am looking at all of you as you are equal threats right now, because I'm doing jack shit. But that's my take on the board.
I think you nailed it.
Chat, do you have any different opinions? Was there anything that we missed? Please let us know. But for now, Zoe, please resume your turn.
Alright. Hey guys, hope the stream went well. Alright, I'm gonna draw for turn. Okay. I'm gonna play land. And I'm gonna start this off. One, two, three, 4. And I'm going to play the Golden Argosy.
The what?
Not the Argosy.
I did not print the card, Doc. That's what it's called.
I have so much chocolate and peanut butter in my mouth right now. I cannot afford to spit this out. Oh my god!
It's just a boat.
It's just a boat.
It's so shiny.
Yeah. I'm gonna go for 1 white, and I will be responsible. Steven, I'm gonna exile
I'm gonna
your
build that Zevlor deck while I
Yeah,
watch
that
Lay
makes
this
down
sense.
stream.
arms. You can gain 3 life.
Why?
What is the spell?
Did you see what
Lay
that
down
card
arms.
does?
It's from Bro. Exile target creature with mana
Have you seen
value
it
less
before?
than the or equal to
Isn't
the
it
number
cool?
of planes you control. Its controller gains 3 life. It's a sorcery. It's
Why,
dope.
why?
This was a great one for mono white.
You know I love a hoop.
Yeah, but then you're like, no, my fucking
You just got to.
I will.
Hey, someone had to open the peanut butter.
go with
It's
that
just
last one.
And then scoop it with the grippers.
I am going to
it's the kind of
attach
card where you're like, you're only
this
having fun when
Bloodthirsty
all else is
Blade
happening.
to Doc's.
Because all the
Right.
fucking powerful abilities or like spells that
And then
card
I'm gonna
enables
pee
are
that
just
too.
like super miserable, and then it becomes like 3 times more miserable.
Yeah.
And then if you
I
get
just
stopped, you're just having the
that
least
there,
fun ever.
so I
because
know
you're like, oh, my command
what I'm-
costs
what
1
I'm doing.
million, and all my spells
Alright.
cost 1 million. And you're like, oh, I
Untap
finally
and
get to
draw.
cast my cruel ultimatum and then use Zevlor to try to copy it. And
Noah, yes. And I keep them in the fridge. Noah said, are the peanut butter cups you get the dark chocolate Trader Joe's ones?
Oh, they're so good.
They're
The
delicious.
thing
They
is,
should be
is,
kept
like,
in the
I
fridge.
think the
Do not
mistake is
like
trying to do the
dark
Hail
chocolate.
Marys. I think it's actually a cooler
You don't like
deck
water
if you
either, so I
copy
question your
smaller
taste.
spells. I think if you do like middle,
We have a very
like 4 mana spells,
complicated relationship with Zoe and water.
And
It's
dark
not
chocolate.
complicated. She doesn't like water. It's really not. It's not
I
complicated.
don't like to drink it. I don't like to have it on my skin.
Apparently
all.
that's normal for werewolves.
Not a werewolf. Don't spread these rumors. I don't want to get silver
Wait,
bulleted.
the
Silver
exhaustion-
bullets kill people too.
The exhaustion with which Zoe said that, I don't know where the J came from. The exhaustion with which Zoe said that implied that Zoe has had to feel this before.
Yep.
Also, there's a water redemption.
this is why I was like, I want to
I'm
build
sorry
this,
to break the
is
news
because
to
I think this
everybody,
is
but I'm
really
not a
fucking cool.
That's very different from werewolf. But
I'm
okay.
gonna go to combat.
Yeah.
I have